everybody, my name is Graham Elwood and you are watching The Political Vigilante. Look at it. Look at that. Pat the Batman fan made rising up from Gotham. A bat with the fangs swooping in to make Gotham great again. So, we have talked on this show about Venezuela. Earlier in the month, we saw that ridiculously failed coup that Trump, well, I don't know what happened with that company, that private intelligence company or private security company with a bunch of ex-military people. Clearly, it was a CIA op that went bad, right? So we've been sanctioning Venezuela. Just to give everybody a little backstory, Venezuela has the #1 oil reserves in the world. And starting in the late 90s, with Chavez, he said, I'm gonna nationalize the oil. And he did, and he started giving his citizens up, brought all these people out of poverty, put all these social programs out there. And we said, oh, he's a terrorist because he wouldn't give oil to us. Maduro came in after Chavez, and we've been saying the same thing about Maduro. And are there legitimate criticisms about Maduro and Chavez? Absolutely. I'm sure there are. You could say they've done this. Absolutely. But the reality is, this is another country like Iran that won't give America its oil, so we make them the enemy. We have no business talking about a single dictator when we are huge allies with the Saudi Arabians. We are so hypocritical. We can't sit there and talk about, does Venezuela poison its water? Does it shoot tear gas? Was it Venezuela's army that paid for Tiger Swan to be at Standing Rock and use anti-terrorist tactics on the American people who just wanted clean, drinkable water? Some of them Native Americans who didn't want a pipeline going through their land. It's a sovereign land. Did Venezuela do that? No. Did Venezuela poison the water in Flint, Michigan? No, they did not. It's all about the oil. That's why we don't like Syria. Again, is Assad some loving guy? Probably not. Are there things to be critical of him? Sure. But the real reason for Syria is not that Assad is a brutal dictator that gasses his own people. No, those chemical weapons came from us. The OPCW reports, we've seen all that on this show. It's the pipeline. Iran and Russia got a pipeline through Syria. Saudi Arabia and America wanted a pipeline, and we still want a pipeline through Syria. Syria won't let us. That's what that war is all about. So what's been happening? We've been sanctioning Venezuela. What have they done? They've started working with Iran. The flag of Iran has been raised in Venezuela as thanks for the gasoline that is being delivered to the Venezuelan people. Because we've been, and I'm going to get into it, we've been sanctioning, we are denying Venezuela from getting any of the elements that you need to refine oil, right? So they can't, we won't let them refine their oil. And we're doing this in the middle of a pandemic, by the way. So Iran breaks through U.S. blockade to deliver oil to Venezuela. This is in the Telesur. People, oh, Telesur is state funded. Yeah, it is. But we're getting a side of it we can't get anywhere else. That's why I watch RT. I've been on RT. It's state media, but our media is, you know, when like I remember seeing Chris Hedges on MSNBC promoting his book, America the Farewell Tour. And they're like, well, it's great to have Chris Hedges, who's on RT, which is funded by its Russian state media. And I really wanted Chris Hedges to go, oh, thank you for having me on MSNBC, which is funded by the military-industrial complex, big pharmaceutical, the oil lobby, and the war machine. So this is what happened. The ship arrived on Saturday in Venezuela waters and was escorted by boats, helicopters, and planes from the Bolivian National Armed Forces. Because we've been blocking this, and we're trying to act like, what's so offensive is we're acting like this is some sort of Cuban Missile Crisis thing. That was a legitimate threat back in the 60s. Russia was going to put warheads on Cuban soil. So 90 miles from America's coast, there's going to be warheads pointed at us. We don't want that. We're the only ones who are allowed to point warheads at people all over the planet. No one else can. The United States prevents the South American country from importing chemical additives, supplies, and spare parts necessary for the refining of its oil. So they're having to import gasoline ready to go because you got to get oil, you got to refine it, go through this whole process to turn it into gasoline. Honestly, I hope Venezuela just goes green and says, we don't need it anymore. Wouldn't that be great? All these people we sanction with oil and they just go, okay, fine. Like, I wish Iran would just go, nah, we're going green. We're going to be done with oil in 15, 20 years. We're off. We're done. You guys fight over the oil. We don't want it. We're done. That's what you do. If any of the leaders of those countries are watching this show, I don't know if they are. I don't know if they like watching surfer comedians with vegan guns, but if you are, that's what you should do. Let me just why I say that. And I'm going to give you an example that might seem crazy, but it makes sense. So I came up in show business. I needed to be hired by TV networks and comedy clubs and movie studios, and they have all this power over you. Right? If you piss off this, you don't get here. One of the reasons so many comedians got into the digital space doing podcasts and YouTube shows is I have complete control over this. I determine my money. I determine my fan base. Now, Google is like basically an arm of the CIA. So YouTube can stifle you in many ways, but that's why Rockman gets created. That's why Ron Placone and I started doing the Progressive Comedy Tour, because we knew we were so, you're beholden. I hope this club hires me. And the only power you really have as a comedian is if you have an audience, if you can sell a number of tickets. The more tickets you can sell on the road, the more power you have. So a lot of us comedians have had to figure out other ways to circumvent, and I don't want to deal with Hollywood. I don't want to deal with their corruption, the fact that Weinstein, everybody knew about Weinstein, Epstein has all these ties, there's pedophiles, there's demon worshippers, all this awful sick shit in Hollywood. And I've had TV shows, and they, oh, Graham, you're part of the family, and then the show gets canceled, and I'm gone, I'm out of work, and I'm just sitting there, boom, I'm done. So I say that's my personal experience. That's what I would do if I was a world leader. I would see the writing on the wall. We can't use oil anymore. It's killing the planet. Let's go green. All these wars, all this crap is all started because of oil. And I get it. If you're a country like Venezuela or Iran, you've got literally all this money underneath you, and you need that money to keep your economy going and all this other stuff. But I'd be thinking long term. So what Dubai did, Dubai went, look, we know we're going to run out of oil 30, 40 years down the road. So let's turn our place into a tourist zone. That's what they did. I would say let's make our country green, completely green. We're done with oil. Anyway, back to this. We're sanctioning Venezuela, not because Maduro's a brutal tyrant dictator. Oh, they showed the empty shelves in Venezuela. Oh, wow, we've had a bunch of empty shelves for 2 months here during the pandemic. People can't get this supply, that supply. There's people starving in America right now. There's third world country conditions in America. On the Indian reservations, all throughout not just the reservations, all throughout the country. The UN did a study 2 years ago showing there's third world conditions in America. That's how we treat our people. In the middle of a pandemic, there's people dying because they don't have health care. We're evicting people. We don't care. You can't pay your rent. Only if they say you can't evict you for 3 months. Oh, great. So when this ban lifts, everyone's going to have 3 months of back rent? Let's say your rent is, I don't know, you live in an expensive city like LA where your rent is $2,000 a month. That's $6,000 a month. And let's say they say, oh, you have a year to pay it back. That's $500 a month. So now your rent goes from $2,000 to $2,500 a month to pay that off. What are you going to do? Anyway, our sanctions of Venezuela are all about oil. Venezuela cannot purchase US-made replacement parts to upgrade its refineries. The Trump administration persecutes any company that wants to support Venezuela and its oil industry. So a bunch of people have fled Venezuela because it's making the situation brutal there. And has the government done brutal things? Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. But we created that situation. Everyone, oh, we need the border wall. We need the border wall. We create sanctions. If we weren't sanctioning Venezuela, it wouldn't be so bad there. People wouldn't need to leave. We've done all this throughout the Latin America. We've created all these awful situations. We could be helping the world. We're in the middle of a pandemic and we're doing this. UN military threat against Iranian tankers posits a global risk. So now, Iran and Venezuela defying the U.S., God, that's causing, I mean, that makes me nervous, but the U.S. causes all these problems. How dare Venezuela build a country above American oil? How dare you do that? The U.S. Peace Council Saturday warned that the U.S. military threat against Iranian tankers approaching Venezuela is an act of international piracy. Yeah, we're the pirates. We're hijacking. This country needs gasoline to survive. Another country is selling it, and we're saying no? And we're just flexing our military muscle saying no? What if somebody did that to us? What if a tanker full of N95 masks was coming into the port of LA from China? And Iran or Venezuela or somebody said, no, you don't get that. Russia said, no, you don't get those masks. And a bunch of more of our people died because they blocked that. America would lose its shit. Which would easily escalate into a multinational war. But why do I know this is all about oil? They've been talking about this for decades. But here's John Bolton, Trump's former security advisor. This is before him and Trump had their little lover spat. Listen to this.
We're looking at the oil assets. That's the single most important income stream to the government of Venezuela. We're looking at what to do to that. We want everybody to know we're looking at all this very seriously. We don't want any American businesses or investors caught by surprise. They can see what President Trump did yesterday. We're following through on it.
So if you think of a company like Citgo, which is owned by PDVSA, which is the state-run oil company there in Venezuela, we have a lot of those Citgo assets right here in the U.S. Is that something, for example, sir, that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, we're in conversation with major American companies now that are either in Venezuela or in the case of Citgo here in the United States. I think we're trying to get to the same end result here. You know, Venezuela is one of the three countries I call the troika of tyranny. It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
He just said it. This is like last year. Oh, it's about American oil companies. So Venezuelan oil companies aren't allowed to make a profit off of Venezuelan oil, but American oil companies are. That's what he just said. So if you're wondering what all this war talk with Venezuela and Iran is really about, it's about money. It's about oil. How do we know this? The highest ranking, most decorated general in the Marine Corps said this back in the 30s. The author of the book, War is a Racket, Major General Smedley Butler.
Smedley Butler, a U.S. Marine Corps General Major who was the most decorated Marine at the time of his death, stated it well when he wrote,
I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I helped make Mexico safe for American oil interests. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for the American sugar interests. I helped make Honduras right for the American fruit companies. In China, I helped see to it that Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. Looking back on it, I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best that he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. War is a racket. It always has been. A few profit and the many pay. But there is a way to stop it. You can end it by disarmament conferences. It can be smashed effectively only by taking the profit out of war.
It can only be smashed by taking the profit out of war. Venezuela is all about profit for American oil companies. Never forget that. The sanctioning of Iran is about the profit for American oil companies. You can be critical of either one of those governments all you want, but you need to be critical of America's government first. If you're an American, you cannot pretend we're this good, friendly, nice country that just reacts to these bad guys. No. America is not a representative democracy. It is a kleptocracy run by oligarchs. And as long as war is for profit, we will keep the machine going so that a handful of few, the 1%, can profit while all of us suffer. War crushes the average person. It kills families. We have 22 vets a day that commit suicide in the United States because of all these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and this 5 other countries. We're in wars in 7 countries. Obama had 65,000 special op troops throughout Southern America during his time in office. They come back with PTSD. Were they fighting for freedom? No, they were fighting for Standard Oil, like John Bolton said. They're fighting for Boeing, the stock price to go up. That's what you're fighting for. And who's getting hurt in the process? Average working class people in these countries, many of them poor countries. Wake up to the reality, folks. That's why you get your news here. They're not telling you this on MSNBC and Fox and CNN because Boeing and Shell Oil and all those companies buy ad time on those networks. That's why that journalist wasn't going to ask John Bolton any tough questions, because she's paid by billionaires. That's why she's a millionaire. So she's paid to get favorable coverage. Ask a couple of softball questions that are fake hardball questions. One little, oh, that's a tough question. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's telling the batter, I'm going to go throw one kind of near your chin to make you, but the next one's coming right down the plate and you can knock it out of here. Thanks for watching the show. You're making Gotham great again. Shave your knuckles for justice. Hey, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.